You ever feel like you can't hear God in your life? Like you're praying, and He's just not showing up, just not answering. Well, I want to give you something that, while it may not answer your question directly of why God isn't talking to me, it should give you some hope in that He still loves you. So in today's reading of our Bible in the year plan, we got to 1 Kings chapter 8, and this is when Solomon finishes the temple. So to set the stage for you, the Israelites are the chosen people of God on earth, the Jewish people. They have spent the last about 15 years just building a temple to God. I mean, this thing was immaculate. It was beautiful. We see the disciples are in amazement of it whenever they come into Jerusalem. But when they finish it, something interesting happens. It says this, that they carried the Ark of the Covenant of God into the temple. And after they did, in verse 10, it says, when the priest came out of the holy place, a thick cloud filled the temple of the Lord. The priests could not continue their service because of the cloud, for the glorious presence of the Lord filled the temple of the Lord. So look what's happened here. They've spent years and years and years building this temple. Right as they finish it, they've taken the Ark of God, and then God's presence comes down physically. Now, I've never seen God like you're seeing me. I've never heard from God like you're hearing from me. But if God appeared to us today like this, a blind man couldn't see Him. If He talked like this, a deaf man couldn't hear Him. As Christians, we believe that God speaks to our spirit. But in this time, He came to them physically. Now, why did He do this? Why did God not just speak to people the same throughout history? And you have to remember that this is before the cross. As it says in verse 27, but will God really live on earth? Why even the highest heavens cannot contain you? How much less this temple I have built? So the people are in amazement that God would even make a dwelling among them. But the New Testament makes us promises that the same power that raised Jesus from the dead lives in you and me. It's a quite humbling reality that God loves us enough to dwell within us. And this dwelling, if we take the command in Ephesians to pray earnestly about everything and never ceasing, then I think that's where God might begin to speak to us. But God speaks to us in a variety of ways. See, during this time, He spoke physically to the people. He showed up physically to the people. But now God speaks to us in our spirit, and He also speaks to us through His word. So my main encouragement to you right now, if you're in this place of discontentment and wondering where God is and why He's not speaking or moving in the way that you want, I would just remind you to be humbled by the reality that we can come to God at any time. As it says in Psalm 139, where can I go from your spirit? Where can I flee from your presence? If I go up into the heavens, you are there. If I make my bed in the depths, you are there. See, God didn't need a temple to dwell in. He says the heavens are His throne and the earth is His footstool. Who could make a temple for Him? But He chose during this time to physically show up. So my encouragement to you today is to go to where God is physically. I'm a physical touch person, so how I touch God physically is through His word. So that's my encouragement to you, is to first and foremost press into the word. And then secondly, press into prayer. But prayer doesn't have to look like just sitting in your room on your knees or in a chair with your hands folded and your head down. Something that's really helped me is actually writing out my prayers. I use an Excel spreadsheet sometimes just to kind of map out what's going on in my mind. Other people use journals. Other people walk. I've done that too. Spending time walking without distractions like even worship music to listen to. Just trying to listen to what God is saying. And then realize something too. It says this in verse 65. Solomon and all Israel celebrated the Feast of Shelters in the presence of the Lord. A large congregation gathered. And then it says they celebrated and they had so much joy. And it was because they had waited on the Lord. As it says in Isaiah 41:10, those who wait on the Lord will renew their strength. So wait on God to show up, and when He does, just like He did during this time, I believe that'll be in a way that really encourages you and makes you realize how much God deeply cares and loves you. Anyways, thanks so much for being with me as we continue to read through the Bible. If you want to join with me, then just hit subscribe, and there's more information in the description about how you can join the Bible plan that I'm currently doing.